If you've been collecting Star Wars The Black Series over the last few years, you've probably noticed that recently things are changing. Today we're going to be talking about the recent shakeups at Hasbro, upcoming releases, multi-packs, live streams, as well as a look forward into what to expect in the next year, some reasons that I'm hopeful and excited about the future of the Black Series, and a few reasons that I'm worried. And FYI, all of the footage you're seeing is from my collection tour video or other videos from my channel, so you can go check those out after this one if you want to see more. The recent Hasbro live stream left a lot of fans super disappointed and has left the collecting community in a bit of a low spot right now. Though, from my years of experience being involved with the toy community, I've noticed that it really ebbs and flows, and it's kind of hard to remember the good times once the novelty of the previous releases wears off and there's nothing exciting to look forward to. Also, the live streams started happening during lockdown in the absence of live conventions or events, and for whatever reason they've continued to try to make them a thing, but the announcement of a new live stream usually creates a lot of hype that the actual events can rarely live up to, and the high production value just usually outshines the actual releases. If the new Thrawn and Destroyer droid reveals had just gone up on a toy blog or on the Star Wars website the way that some other releases do, there I think would have only been positivity. And during this last live stream they really made a point that there was a lot more Black Series to come later this year. I think they kind of knew that there wasn't much to be revealed, and despite the attempt to tamper the expectations, the toy community really got ahead of itself and was ultimately pretty disappointed. It's sort of equivalent to texting someone, "Hey, we need to talk," and then just saying, "Oh, I just wanted to say hi." The Black Series is in a weird spot right now, with almost none of our mainline releases this year having been pipelined or revealed yet. Usually we know what's coming 1 or 2 waves ahead. We're also in a little bit of a drought in terms of things releasing, but I think this is largely due to the number of releases that dropped almost simultaneously at the end of 2023, and by comparison, last year for the first 5 months I reviewed almost nothing on my channel. I think I had 2 or 3 reviews over the course of those first 5 months of the year, versus like the 40 plus figures I ended up releasing towards the second half of the year. So this drought that we're seeing right now is actually consistent with the release schedule last year, and we have to acknowledge that the strikes that happened in 2023 are going to have notable delays on the upcoming media. It's normal for the Black Series to focus on current media, doing their best to time the releases of figures with the new Disney Plus shows, and so the general assumption is that the new Black Series waves contain a lot of figures from these upcoming TV shows, which have been pushed back to coincide with the new release dates, which are still not officially locked in other than the Bad Batch Season 3. I think there's also been a bit of a distortion in our memory about how soon figures come out after a show airs, just because of the sheer volume of new shows that have been coming out, as opposed to like back in 2019, 2020 when we basically just had Mando Season 1 and 2. Also, I think we tend to forget how long we waited for certain figures once they've been on our shelves for a while, and our mental timeline sort of blurs together. I did some quick math using the Black Series Dark Trooper. They first appeared in The Mandalorian in December 2020, and that figure wasn't revealed until February 7th, 2022, and started reaching customers around July 2022. That is a huge time jump. So while it feels like Mando Season 3 ended a long time ago and Hasbro seems to almost have forgotten to make figures from that show, we actually shouldn't be expecting those until around December of this year, and assuming the production timeline is the same, I expect to see them revealed around May the 4th or San Diego Comic-Con this summer, since we have no Star Wars Celebration this year. There are definitely some things that are different than in the past though. Hasbro Pulse has made a huge effort to go a bit more global, making figures available in lots of new countries that were previously not on their map, and for the first time in a while, releasing figures exclusively outside the US, such as the newest wave of archive figures with classics like the Stormtrooper, Bo-Katan, Vader, and the X-Wing Luke. We're also seeing the release of the A-List series, with Vader and Mando being released on their own in an attempt to have more evergreen figures on the shelf all year round, instead of as part of an archive wave or a mainline wave. I think this will be great for bringing in new collectors, which is great for us because the more people buying these figures, the more we have a hope of seeing more niche character selections, and the better chance we have of seeing something like the Haslab Rancor or whatever the next Black Series Haslab may be being more successful. Also, the more figures they sell, the more it offsets the cost of new tooling. If these figures sold 5 times as much as they do currently, I think we'd see way more new sculpts, niche characters, and accessories packed into the box, since the cost of the new molds stays the same, but the profit margin would grow, and therefore so would the budget for making new figures. One other thing we are seeing is multi-packs, from the Jedi Fallen Order 3-pack to all of the Prequel era 2-packs coming out this year. The announcement of the Clones of the Republic line shows that Hasbro has really been paying attention to what collectors want, and it seems a lot of Prequel and Clone Wars era stuff does really well with collectors, but maybe not as well at retail. A lot of these Prequel figures are just being released on fan channel sites like Big Bad Toy Store or Hasbro Pulse, rather than being available at Target or Walmart. In the recent episode of Black Series Cantina podcast, Yakface mentioned a few upcoming figures that we've been wanting for a while, in addition to a 5-pack that sounds like it would do well at the Disney parks or on shopdisney.com, but maybe not as well on normal retail shelves. And yes, I did say a Black Series 5-pack, and he did say what those 5 figures would be, but that episode is only available on the Patreon for Black Series Cantina at the moment, so I can't say much more about those, but the episode drops on February 17th on all podcast platforms, so out of respect to them, I don't want to spoil it, but you can go check that out now if you would like. But I am really happy to see that they've found a way to make prequel-era releases like this possible, and I'm really hoping that they do well, that we continue to see similar releases since these are right up my alley. We've also had the announcement that Patrick has left the Black Series team, and for those who don't know, Patrick was the head of marketing for the Black Series and hosted many of the live streams and events, but overall I feel like people didn't really feel like the Black Series was in good hands with him. He never really came off as a true fan or toy collector who really understands the mentality around collecting, and I do wish him the best in his new role on Nerf, but this news was shortly followed by the announcement that Mr. Stevie, a longtime Hasbro employee and former face of the Star Wars team, had returned to Star Wars as design director for fan product. I'm not 100% sure exactly what that means, but it sounds like he'll be focused on the collector lines, like the Black Series and the Vintage Collection, more so than the child-focused product. He'll also be doing the same role for Marvel at Hasbro, so we'll see how that all plays out. But Mr. Stevie is a real fan favorite among toy collectors, and I'm happy to see him back on the Star Wars team and to see kind of what that turns into for us. I also have to address the fact that the end of 2023 saw one of the best figures of all time in the Black Series, which is the Glavis Ringworld Mandalorian. Not only was this a fantastic figure, this was a retool of a previously released character, bringing it up to 2024 standards with state-of-the-art articulation and engineering and a flawlessly proportioned sculpt. This figure is incredible, and if this is a sign of things to come for the Black Series, I will be collecting for a very long time. Also on the Black Series Cantina podcast, Yakface teased some more retools of iconic characters that are in desperate need of an update, and I'm really looking forward to those. They are all from the prequel era, and we've been waiting on some of these for a very long time. We've also recently seen Hasbro really dive into some figures that we've been begging for years. The Super Battle Droid, the Magnaguard, the Destroyer Droid, C-3PO on a Battle Droid head. Okay, maybe not that last one, but I will take it anyway. And I don't think it's really a matter of Hasbro not being aware that we wanted these figures, but it seems rather that they've figured out a way to bring these characters to production and retail that for some reason may not have been possible in the past. Though the Super Battle Droid seems like such an obvious release, I really can't imagine why that was held off for so long, other than maybe they were saving it as a highlight for this prequel-era deep dive that they're doing now. So for all those reasons, I am excited about the future of the Black Series. Even though things are a bit slow right now, I think there's a lot to look forward to. And now let's get into why I'm worried. The past year, we saw an unprecedented number of figures going to clearance pretty shortly after releasing, and figures like Ponda Baba and Dr. Evazan clogging shelves at Ollie's, which really bums me out to see since niche original trilogy characters like that are favorites of mine. Most toy and collectible companies saw a huge hit in their stock value in 2023, I think due to the rush of new collectors that we saw during lockdown tapering off. It seems that a lot of companies overproduced product to meet a demand that was no longer there, and then by the time those things were released a year later, there just weren't as many people buying them. So I worry that we won't see as many risks taken in the near future, such as figures like Bix Killeen or Cantina Aliens, though the upcoming Hammerhead should be amazing and I really hope it sells well. We also ended the year with the biggest fumble I've ever seen in my few years of collecting, which was the release of Baylan and Shin being terribly scaled. It also doesn't help that the Marek in this wave was also completely misguided, and those followed the wave with the HK droid that was released on that fire truck red body looking nothing like it did in the show. I really don't know what happened with those figures. I don't know who was in charge of signing off on those, but I really hope that those mistakes aren't something that we see repeated. You'll never hear me complain about cheap repaints or gimmick lines like Carbonized, Credit, or Holocomm because I understand the need for those kinds of releases in any toy line. If you have a toy line, you're going to do stuff like that. It's like if you open a restaurant, the food is important, but you also need to bring in a ton of cash from selling the drinks, and I'm happy that they can squeeze out some extra profit wherever they can because that just adds to the overall budget. I don't personally buy them, but it's great that some people do. I also understand that the gimmick releases don't replace other releases such as new characters and sculpts, but rather they support the creation of those more niche characters. And so my hope is that with Hasbro going more global, collectors from all over the world getting involved, and amazing figures like the new Mandalorian come out, we can hopefully see less of these repaint sublines and more new characters. I haven't done a video essay like this before, so if you did enjoy it, please leave a like and let me know your thoughts in the comments below. We've covered a lot today and there's a lot to talk about, and I'm really interested in hearing from all of you. My collection tour that all of this footage was taken from is going to be showing up on your screen right now. In case you are new to the channel and you haven't seen it yet, please consider subscribing if you liked what you heard today. I'm really looking forward to getting back into Black Series reviews, which are kind of the bread and butter of my channel once more figures start releasing. Here are some other videos from my channel that you might enjoy. In the meantime, as always, thank you all for watching, and I will see you next time.